Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tangle Time Arts. My name is Nana Heron, and I'm a certified Zentangle teacher. And for this installment of our Tangle of the Week, and it's week 21, we are going to take a look at another alternative grid type of tangle. Last week we took a look at pinch, and this week we're going to take a look at man oh man. And this one is fun because it alternates squares and triangles. So for this project, you will need your basic tools, which is a black pen, a number two pencil, a tortillon, and a white tile. But I also have a red pen for some optional color. You could use several colors if you would like, but I'm just going to use the one extra color for this project. All right, so for this one, once you've gathered your wonderful paper and all the tools, we will start by placing a dot in each corner lightly. And we're going to draw a line from dot to dot to dot all the way around, just like that. And I'm keeping the frame kind of on the narrow side for this one. And now we can set aside our pencil and pick up our pen. And this one starts simply with a square. So you want to kind of approximate your center. And I'm not going to mark it, but I'm just going to kind of eyeball it and put in a square roughly in the center there. And gosh, it's maybe a centimeter, maybe half an inch on each side there, all the way around. And once you have a square, we are going to put in another one above and below, leaving space in between them. And then we're also going to put one on each side. If it's easier for you to rotate, um, for example, working top to bottom, you can rotate and do that. Whatever works best for you. So now we have 5 squares. And in between these squares, this is where we put in our triangles. Now we're going to continue that spacing. And then connect those corners. And we're going to do that for each of these areas. I'm going to rotate. So you can start to see how this is creating a grid, but not like a traditional grid where we do something like this with the lines perpendicular to each other. But we have a nice grid starting here in a different way. Once we have this basic foundation of our initial squares and the triangles in those spaces, we are going to add more squares. So we're going to go above and below again, and again, keeping roughly the same size. And then I'm going to do these, but I'm going to rotate. And then we're going to add more squares in these areas right above the triangles. So we have that flat surface here, which is similar to the flat surface we have here for our squares. So everywhere there's a flat surface, we are going to draw a line above and then finish off our square. And we're going to do that for each place that there's a triangle. I'm just rotating around. So we have our squares in, and in between our squares, we are going to put, and you've probably already guessed, we're going to put a triangle. All right, so now we're back where we started, and we do have this lovely grid um, forming here, and you can take that out as far as you would like to go. Um, and some people like to shade this one not in the squares and triangles, but on the outside there in these spaces. But I'm going to do something a little differently. I'm going to treat this as our reticula, and I am going to treat our squares and triangles like fragments. So for our squares, I've chosen a fragment that reminds me of well, and I think it's D4 on the chart. You can choose any fragment that you would like to fill in, but I'm kind of partial to this one. And it's real simple. You just put a little orb in the center, and then we're going to go, you can either go from the corner and loop around your orb like that. And you're going to do that for each corner. Or you could start at the orb and go out. But I like to come in like that. And we can do that for each of the square shapes. And feel free to rotate if you need to. And it's fun to experiment with the different fragments because you can get some really cool tangles within the tangle there. I'm just going to go and do left to right as well. Um, And it goes pretty quickly. And I'll go the other way for those of you who like to start with the orb and work your way out. Then I'm going to rotate because we have a few more squares to finish up. All right, made it all the way around. And at this point, I'm going to pick up my red pen. You can continue on in black if you'd like, or choose different colors. I'm just going with one other color, but you could use several, and especially if you've gone bigger with this. And for our little triangles, instead of choosing a triangle fragment, I am just drawing lines, just horizontal lines, starting at the top longest side there, all the way to the point, just for a little bit of color and contrast. And the same with the next row of them. So you could use a different color for the different rows. Or you could just do this all in black and keep it traditional. Right, that went very quickly. And now I am going to do some shading. So for this one, instead of shading through the spaces, I'm actually going to shade the square, the little square fragments. And I'm just going to go add some graphite all the way around the inside of each of them. I'm just going to rotate here so it's a little bit easier. And I'm just adding a light layer of graphite, nothing, nothing too heavy. Then we could add a little graphite to our triangles if we would like. I'm just going to keep it to the sides that are pointing towards the center. Again, very lightly. Don't need much. And then I'm going to add some graphite kind of around it. And I'm going to actually do something I don't often do, but that's just adding a lot of graphite. This is where if you have one of those sketch and wash graphite pencils, those work really well. But I realize not everyone probably has one laying around, so I'm just doing it this way. But if you have one of those, you can add your graphite like this, and then instead of the tortillon to blend it out, you just add water, kind of like watercolor pencil, but it's graphite. All right, then we can take our tortillon, and we'll have to do that sometime with the sketch and wash pencil. Get our little triangles here. Just adding like a little bit of a shadow there. And then we can go around and smooth this out all the way around. I'm gonna go all the way around first and then come back in and blend it out towards the corners. And this goes pretty quickly. We're going all the way out to each corner. Just blending it out. And it's just a light back and forth motion. If you need to go in and add a little more graphite, you can do so, but a little bit goes quite far actually. And that's about it. Pretty quick. So we have Man Oh Man with, and we turned that into a reticula and added, treated those like fragments. And I did a D4, yeah, in our squares. And then for our triangles, I just went in with a red pen and just did horizontal lines, just for the contrast. But you could choose a triangle fragment to fill in there. It does get pretty small though, but I would love to hear what fragments you used if you chose to do that. All right, so now we can just put our initials, our chop on there. And I'm going to keep it simple and just actually put that in the corner like that, any corner. I'm going to flip this over and put my name on there. And it is already August 3rd. I honestly don't know where the time has gone. It's been kind of a challenging, challenging year. And this is week 21. This is our week 21 tangle. And it is man, oh, man, by Zentangle. And like I said, it's an alternative type of grid, but I kind of like these. They're kind of fun. I love grid tangles to begin with because you get these really cool geometric shapes. But the alternative makes you think a little differently, and I love that with these, it's mostly squares and triangles. So it's just fascinating the way that they go together. You can add color to this or not. I like to kind of keep it simple and just appreciate the shapes in there. And that's really it. This fills a large space pretty quickly. So give it a try. Let me know what you think. And I think for our next video, we'll do something a little more organic, a little botanical. All right. I hope you're having a great weekend, and I'll see you soon. And thank you so much for following. And I also love to hear your comments. So please say hi. And I'll see you next time. Remember, I love you guys. Take care. Bye.